What is up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the status pill and why it trumps the black pill in many cases, and also why you could consider it even more blackpilling than the more common theories about looks and stuff like that. So, what is the status pill? It's obviously kind of the name of my channel, and it's the idea that in your late teens and early 20s, your level of perceived and real social status kind of disproportionately affects how attractive girls see you. So, directly, it affects it because that's a big attraction trigger for them. And we'll get into why. But it also indirectly affects it because if you're someone with high social status, you'll naturally find yourself in situations to more easily meet and attract an abundance of women. And it's kind of an upward spiral if you're able to break into the right social circles. So, the first part, girls find social status to be very attractive. And I mean, there's a bunch of theories for it. I don't like to, you know, make everything based off of like evolutionary psychology and stuff like that. But that is one frame that you could look at it through. That's basically the idea that growing up, in more primal environments, back when we lived in tribes and stuff like that, your ability to both survive and thrive in nature was because of the kind of like friends you had and the sway you had over other people. And obviously, girls would want to feel protected and have a good life. So naturally, they're wired to be into that. I think that's part of it. I think girls nowadays have a really high level of abundance. A lot of guys like them, including guys that might be attractive. And I think when girls see that you're a guy with a lot of friends, it shows it shows high value, but it also shows that you're someone they can be comfortable with. If you know the dating coach, the pickup guy, Todd V, he has this whole value comfort model. And if you think about it, you're kind of attacking that issue from both sides when you have a lot of social proof. So on the value side, you're showing that you're a cool guy because other cool guys want to be friends with you. And also, you're showing pre-selection in many cases because obviously if girls, are into you, then girls tend to kind of piggyback on it's called mate choice copying. They tend to kind of like they take a lot of value into what other girls think because if she likes you and she's hot or even hotter than me, then she must have done her research and kind of vetted you. So from that angle, and then also just the idea of like looking like a winner and girls like winners, all of that adds to the attraction side of things. But I don't think it's just attraction. So you have all this attraction, but then on top of that, you're showing that you're someone that is safe. Obviously, you have friends, and she knows that you're not going to show up on the date and be like a weirdo and not know what to say. And even more deeply than that, she knows that like these other people trust you. And obviously, you haven't like killed them, like been weird, or they haven't like cut you off or anything like that. So that way it's kind of like if you think about it, you're getting like the best of both worlds. You're showing that you're a safe, pre-selected guy that knows how to be around people and is trusted around people and stuff like that. But at the same time, you're also showing that, you know, you have it going on. You have it popping of motion or whatever. I mean, girls independent outside of dating, just in general, girls are way more social than guys, and they for themselves, I think, tend to care more about like having friends or being popular or whatever, a lot more than guys naturally would if girls weren't a factor. So you're kind of playing their game and doing, if you're doing better than that, that's like triggering hypergamy even because you're beating women kind of at their own game in a sense. Anyway, that's kind of like the theory behind it. But why do I feel this way? So to clarify, I think that for this to be true, you need to kind of be past a certain looks threshold. What I mean by that is like if you have a guy who's like a sub 5 but like super popular, I'm not suggesting that he would do better than someone who's, you know, like attractive but not super popular. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if you take a pool of guys that are average and above, the guys that are going to get the most results aren't necessarily going to be the most attractive guys. It's going to be the, somewhat attractive guys that have a good social life and have social proof and have pre-selection. And I think that people might disagree with me about this, but I think the guys that actually go outside can kind of vouch with this, which is that when you see an attractive girl, she's not necessarily with like a total like 10 out of 10 guy, but she's with a relatively attractive guy who has stuff going on, has friends, does cool shit, has other girls kind of hanging out with him or whatever. I mean, if you disagree with me, feel free to argue in the comments, but that's been my experience. That's been what I've seen, especially in nightlife, actually. I know in my last video, I talked about how there's not a lot of, from my experience, game is kind of limited in nightlife. A lot of it is kind of just how you look and if you're a girl's type. That wasn't exactly what I said. I did say that game and stuff has a place, but just that the idea of like game changing if a girl likes you or not hasn't been my experience. I think guys that are well connected and maybe like go to the club with female friends or even with guy friends and they're like naturally taking up space and having fun. Again, assuming that they're past a certain looks level, they tend to do well. Even for myself, if I compare like when I go to the club with like a bunch of friends and we're kind of like having fun and being kind of like loud, obnoxious assholes or whatever, we get way more female attention than when I'm just with like my quiet friend and we're just kind of standing around. So, practical advice for this. I would suggest putting a lot of attention into trying to improve your social life. I know some of us it might not be a priority. Even myself, like sometimes it's like, I just want bitches. I don't need to like hang out with people all the time. And that's not even what I'm suggesting. I'm not saying you have to hang out with people all the time. But things like having a good Instagram with a good amount of followers. It doesn't have to be like 1,000 plus, but having a good amount of followers, a good ratio, having pictures with friends, having girls following you back so that then when a girl follows you, she sees, oh, Stacy follows him. He must, be cool or whatever. Or, this cool guy that I met follows this guy too. So I know he's not a total weirdo. Things like that really help. And just keeping in mind, again, like girls are visual, looks do matter, but girls are social animals even more than, like, I mean, they say humans are social animals, but girls especially are social animals. And you need to kind of tailor your approach to that fact. I could talk about this for a while, and I kind of rambled in this video. There's a lot more I have to say about this, and I probably will. Obviously, my channel is called The Status Pill. I'm not just going to talk about the status pill or whatever, but I will be talking more about it. And I want to talk more about how to practically act on that. I kind of touched on that in this video. I do have Instagram maxing course linked in the description. Totally optional, but feel free to check that out. if you're interested in improving kind of your online image. And a lot of what I talk on that course is based off of the ideas of the status pill because I noticed that the guys that have hella baddies following them and liking all their posts and stuff aren't the guys that are like trying to like model and look sick, trying to copy Austin Dunham's photo shoots and stuff. Those aren't the guys that tend to do the best. It's actually the guys that have pictures with a bunch of their buddies, maybe with girls here and there with female friends. They're doing, pictures out at the club, out on trips, out doing their hobbies, stuff like that. And I really break down exactly how to show that on your profile, even if you have to kind of fake it till you make it, which I actually did, and it worked a lot. I even have like a library of pictures from successful profiles you can emulate and basically either get inspiration from so that you know exactly what I'm talking about, or even just like directly copy, you know, the kind of pictures they used and take them yourself with like a similar setting, similar clothes, stuff like that. Anyway, guys, that's been all for me. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Peace.